We usually measure a conqueror's success by the size of their armies or battlefields. But in ancient India, the ultimate display of absolute power was a sword that remained in its scabbard. History is crowded with empires built on mass casualties. Chanakya, a brilliant political strategist, viewed a reliance on brute force as a sign of weakness. He outlined his alternative in the Saptanga theory. This concept presents the kingdom as a living organism made of 7 interdependent nodes. The king functions as the central organ, completely dependent on the other parts of the body to keep the state alive. Sovereignty demands an absolute, selfless responsibility to the health of that organism. When a ruler governs through personal ego, they damage the very system that supports them. This theory was a direct response to the Nanda dynasty. King Dhanananda had a historical reputation for extorting the public, taxing them heavily to fund his own personal luxuries. When Chanakya spoke out against this tyrannical behavior in court, Dhanananda publicly insulted and cast him out. This sparked a vow to uproot the entire dynasty. Chanakya designed the Arthashastra to be the complete antithesis of the Nanda model. It provided a blueprint for a ruler governed entirely by discipline rather than desire. The text establishes a clear moral directive. It states, "In the happiness of his subjects lies the king's happiness. In the welfare of his subjects, his welfare." If the primary goal of the crown is public happiness, then subjecting those same people to the slaughter and economic ruin of open warfare represents a total failure of leadership. Surviving the volatile landscape of ancient India required intense political maneuvering. A ruler lived surrounded by aggressive neighbors and internal fractures. The Arthashastra offers a stark warning about armed conflict. As the text highlights here, warfare is unpredictable and financially disastrous. It must remain a last resort. Chanakya managed threats through the 4 upayas, a procedural escalation designed to disarm enemies through statecraft. The process begins with sama, using diplomacy to forge alliances. If that fails, the king moves to dana, offering strategic gifts to pacify greed. Handing over wealth or territory is often the smarter investment. Deploying resources is infinitely cheaper than funding a standing army for a border war. When bribery fails, the strategy turns to beta, or dissension. This involves using spies and rumors to fracture an enemy's alliance from the inside out. The final resort is danda. This involves a calculated, heavily restricted surgical strike. Danda is applied strictly in proportion to the threat. It is designed to restore order and return to peace, rather than feeding a conqueror's ego. This approach creates a psychological weight. An empire is often dismantled before its leaders realize they are even under attack. Mastering the 4 upayas allows a king to control the geopolitical board entirely from the shadows, rendering the chaotic battlefield obsolete. The Arthashastra defines demoniac conquest as a cycle of pure annihilation, looting, and enslavement. Chanakya countered this with the ideal of righteous conquest. This requires defeating a rival while leaving their culture and economy intact, eventually assimilating them as loyal vassals. This theory faced a massive test following the campaigns of Alexander the Great. His departure left a vacuum in India's northwest, along with a significant military threat. Alexander's successor, Seleucus Nicator, commanded a vast empire. As he moved toward the Indus, he collided directly with the rising power of Chandragupta Maurya. A head-on collision between these 2 superpowers would have resulted in mutual destruction and generational bloodshed. Instead, they reached a diplomatic triumph. Chandragupta traded 500 war elephants for vast territories and sealed a permanent alliance by marrying Seleucus's daughter, Helen. After securing the border, Chanakya turned to an internal threat, Rakshasa. He was the brilliant and dangerous prime minister of the fallen Nanda dynasty, and he remained fiercely loyal to the old order. Chanakya used beta to isolate Rakshasa and then followed it with sama. Rather than executing his rival, Chanakya convinced Rakshasa to serve as Chandragupta's own prime minister. These victories proved the core principle: true power lies in transforming enemies into vital assets. The Mauryan Empire achieved unprecedented stability and prosperity by choosing to keep the blade put away. A kingdom is defended by its armies, but a lasting legacy is built by the wisdom to restrain power. In Episode 8, we see how the empire struggled to maintain that wisdom as it reached its peak.